This is the first of many videos that we'll be doing about the hidden mafia tunnels beneath the city. If you don't know anything about them, you're not alone. Most people who live in New York City have no idea that there are miles and miles of underground tunnels hiding just beneath their feet. These tunnels were used to smuggle all sorts of illegal goods, including weapons, drugs, and even people. And they're still there today, mostly untouched. The tunnels are known as the Atlantic Avenue Tunnels, or simply the tunnels. They stretch from Brooklyn to Manhattan and are so vast that they could fit several people abreast. At one point, the tunnels had over 150 entrances in Brooklyn alone, although most of these have been bricked up or filled in. But there's still at least one entrance open in Manhattan, and several more in Brooklyn. The tunnels were used by the Mafia during the Prohibition era, when the sale and consumption of alcohol was outlawed in the United States. This led to the rise of organized crime groups such as the Mafia, who smuggled and sold alcohol illegally. The Atlantic Avenue tunnels provided the perfect opportunity to do this, as they were out of the way and not really used by anyone else. So how did they actually use the tunnels? Well, it's simple, really. The Mafia would receive information about incoming shipments of illegal alcohol and then send out a crew to meet them at one of the many entrances to the tunnels. They would then take the alcohol and store it in one of the many warehouses that lined the tunnel network. When they were ready to sell the alcohol, they would send out another crew to retrieve it and then distribute it to the various bars and restaurants that were willing to pay for it. But the tunnels weren't just used for smuggling alcohol. They were also used to smuggle in other illegal goods, such as drugs and weapons. In addition, the tunnels were also used as a way to transport people, particularly prostitutes who were often smuggled in from other states or even other countries. The tunnels were also used as a place to store illegal items, such as stolen goods and money. In fact, it's rumored that some of the Mafia's most valuable items were stored in the tunnels, including diamonds and gold bars. The tunnels were also used as a place to carry out illegal activities, such as gambling and prostitution. In fact, it's rumored that some of the most powerful Mafia bosses held court in the tunnels and made many of their important decisions there. The tunnels were also used as a place to hide from the police. In fact, it's rumored that many of the Mafia's top earners were able to evade the police for years by hiding out in the tunnels. Now let's talk about the history of the Mafia tunnels. The tunnels were constructed in the early 20th century when the city of New York began to expand. The tunnels were originally meant to be used for transportation purposes, but they were quickly taken over by the Mafia. The Mafia saw the potential of the tunnels and began to use them for their illegal activities. The tunnels were the perfect place to hide and smuggle things in and out of the city. Over the years, the Mafia built up a vast network of tunnels. At one point, the tunnels spanned over 60 miles and had over 150 entrances in Brooklyn alone. Now let's talk about the layout of the Mafia tunnels. The tunnels are a complex network of underground passages that stretch from Brooklyn to Manhattan. The tunnels are wide enough to accommodate large trucks and are often reinforced with concrete. In addition to the main tunnels, there are also a number of smaller tunnels and shafts that branch off from the main network. These smaller tunnels are often used for storage purposes or as escape routes. Most people who enter the tunnels do so through one of the many entrances that are located throughout Brooklyn and Manhattan. However, there are also a number of secret entrances that are known only to a few people. Now let's talk about what you can find in the Mafia tunnels. As we mentioned earlier, the tunnels are home to a number of different things, including tunnels, warehouses, shafts, gambling dens, brothels, and even some small businesses. In addition to these man-made structures, the tunnels also contain a number of natural features, such as springs and caves. Now let's talk about who owns the Mafia tunnels. The tunnels were never officially owned by anyone. They were simply taken over by the Mafia and used for their own purposes. However, the tunnels are now in a state of limbo. The government doesn't know what to do with them, and the Mafia no longer has the power to claim them. Now let's talk about why the Mafia tunnels are important. The Mafia tunnels are an important part of New York City's history. They provide a tangible link to the days when the Mafia had a strong presence in the city. In addition, the tunnels are simply a remarkable feat of engineering. The complexity of the network is truly impressive, and it's hard to believe that they were ever used for anything other than transportation. If you want to learn more about the Mafia tunnels, there are a number of resources available. You can start by doing a simple internet search. There are also a number of books and documentaries about the Mafia tunnels. You can also visit the tunnels themselves. There is one entrance to the tunnels that is open to the public in Manhattan. In addition, there are a number of organizations that offer tours of the tunnels in Brooklyn. We hope that you enjoyed learning about the Mafia tunnels. Stay tuned for more videos about the hidden secrets of New York City. It's unclear exactly how long the Mafia tunnels were used for illegal activities. However, it's believed that they were used for at least several decades, from the beginning of the Prohibition era in the 1920s until the end of the era in the 1930s. It's also possible that the tunnels continued to be used for illegal activities after the end of the Prohibition era, but to a lesser extent. What's happening to the Mafia tunnels today? The Mafia tunnels are still there today, mostly untouched. The government hasn't decided what to do with them yet, and the Mafia isn't powerful enough to reclaim them. As a result, the tunnels have basically been abandoned and are slowly falling into disrepair. Is the Mafia still around today? The Mafia is still around today, but it's much less powerful than it was in the past. The 5 traditional Mafia families in the United States are the Bonanno crime family, the Colombo crime family, the Gambino crime family, the Genovese crime family, and the Lucchese crime family. These families are still involved in a number of illegal activities, but their power has been greatly diminished, thanks to the efforts of law enforcement. Are there any plans to turn the Mafia tunnels into a tourist attraction? There have been some discussions about turning the Mafia tunnels into a tourist attraction, but so far, nothing has been decided. The tunnels are in a state of limbo, and it's unclear what will happen to them in the future. Can you imagine yourself exploring the dark and dank tunnels, knowing that they were once used for illegal activities? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. You think the Mafia tunnels should be preserved as a historical site? Or do you think they should be demolished? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for more videos about the Mafia and other organized crime groups. We also have a podcast that you might enjoy. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Here's another video you might like.